Hello, and welcome to the Liquidity event. We're your hosts, AJ.
And Shane.
And this is episode 78, being recorded on Wednesday, January 25th, airing on Friday, January 27th. Today, we've got lots of exciting content for you. We've got more news about ChatGPT, Microsoft's investment in them. While Microsoft is busy investing in ChatGPT, they join the many tech companies participating in layoffs. So unfortunately, our thoughts and prayers go out to everyone who's lost their job. We've also got some tampon news and potentially some Forever 21 competitor has entered the scene. I feel like shit. How you doing, Shane?
Thoughts and prayers. I don't know. We actually do have thoughts going out to those people.
No,
being
seriously.
laid off.
No, yes. Yeah. It's been a emotional week here. Oh, emotional few months here at Brooklyn FI, and definitely for our clients who are experiencing layoffs. So truly, it's a really difficult time to be working in tech, whether you're being laid off, afraid of being laid off, having to be the one doing the layoffs. So truly, like we have done a lot of navigating layoffs with our clients and continue to do so.
Yeah. A couple thoughts off the rip. Like not a ton of, I've got crocodile tears for the 25-year-old adult daycare product managers that post on TikTok about how they work 4 hours a week. But we have a lot of clients that have been working at these companies for 10 plus years that got emails that, or their laptops were essentially shut down remotely. Those are where the thoughts are going for sure, and we're going to talk about that in depth a little bit later. Not to jump ahead.
I also want to do a quick shout out. Next Wednesday, February 1st, Brooklyn FI is actually going to do a webinar at 5 p.m. Eastern. So if you're listening to this on Friday, you've got a few days to sign up. We'll drop a link in the show notes. We're going to do a webinar about what to do when you are laid off, or kind of how to prepare if you think it's coming. Just some tips and tricks, and it's a big life change. Sometimes you see it coming, sometimes you don't. So more on that soon. What you drinking?
I'm drinking water. I'm on day 900 of dry January. It's actually day 10, but black coffee and water, standard stuff. I'm gonna get into. Now I know why people get into sparkling water. all you nerds that drink LaCroix.
LaCroix is so 2021. I'm more of a spindrift person these days.
Yeah, well, whatever. I can't keep up with the bouge, the coming and going of the bouge. What do you want to talk about? Artificial intelligence? You want to hop into ChatGPT?
Sure, I'd love to talk about you, Shane.
I am just a reptile in a human skin suit with an AI.
I prefer talking to ChatGPT these days. I like the answers I get better than the answers I get from you on Slack, which sometimes feels like ChatGPT in a remote environment. When you don't get to see someone every day and all you do is chat with them on Slack, like, is there a person still there? Just wondering.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah.
When are we gonna cross over to the point where someone's just gonna be, I mean, I'm sure this has already happened actually, and I'm sure we'll see a news story about it where someone has figured out how to use ChatGPT or artificial intelligence or some other program to literally be them in Slack so they can, go play golf all day and just have ChatGPT answer, or the AI answer for when colleagues reach out, like, how you doing this morning, man? Great. Little tired. You? You watched Game of Thrones last night?
I'm sure we have enough.
Insert HBO show that premiered over the past 2 weeks. Right.
And it just sends back a GIF of that's relevant to what happened on that episode. Yeah.
Yep.
Can't wait. I mean, we're going to talk about how artificial intelligence will supposedly liberate human beings from doing work and how that's going to be relevant to, OpenAI created DALL-E, which I didn't realize this is the artificial intelligence platform that creates images, which I didn't realize was a play on Wall-E and Salvador Dali, which is really insightful if you think about that, what is going on in that movie. And that in Wall-E, humans no longer have to work, right? Because of an artificial intelligence that runs the ship. And they essentially live on universal basic income, and the people that are running these companies are familiar with what they are creating, and they are familiar with the cultural items that have been reflecting what they're creating in the future. So, universal
thanks for ruining WALL-E for me.
Bro, that movie came out 10 years ago. You haven't seen WALL-E, for real?
I haven't seen WALL-E. I know it's a missing item in my repertoire.
Movie. Yeah, iconic movie. It's a Windows versus Mac sub-story. There's a subplot of Windows versus Mac.
Oh, perfect.
There's the destruction of Earth due to human climate change, artificial intelligence, It's a very BKFI movie.
Sounds like right up my street.
Oh my God. You know what? Do you
No,
watch
I'm being serious.
animated?
I'm being
or-
serious. No, I love animated. It's one of those things that I just missed and just never saw. Like, definitely been on my list for a while.
Throw it on the letterbox, please. Very relevant to this week's podcast. So all I'm going to do is make Wally references the whole
Perfect.
first 10
Perfect.
minutes. Which article do you want to start with? The valuation?
Sure. Yeah, let's start with we've got this article from Wall Street Journal. ChatGPT is looking at a $29 billion valuation. This would roughly double their valuation from a previous tender offer. This isn't internal, right? It's not a public company, as we've discussed before. So this gives current investors and employees an opportunity to get some liquidity and forces ChatGPT to have an updated valuation. Thoughts here?
Well, my first thought is that their last valuation was $14 billion. That was in October of 2021. They dropped GPT 3. Now their valuation is $30 billion. Shout out to all the employees that built this. They're going to be able to benefit from this tender offer. Tender offer is when a company comes in and they just offer to purchase shares from the employees that have probably been there multiple years, and they have an opportunity before an IPO to actually take some risk off the table and divulge some of their shares. So this is really a big deal for, obviously, ChatGPT as a company. Having a higher valuation allows them to access to more capital, more trust from the market, but also a big win for the employees that are looking for some liquidity. Some of the, they have their salaries, of course. I'm not sure what they look like, but when it comes to hitting the lottery at a tech startup, this is step one before an IPO. So shout out to the employees that have built something truly incredible.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to tender offers in general. Like, always a great opportunity. We've got lots of clients who participate in. Actually, 2022 is a banner year for tender offers because there weren't a lot of IPOs. So a lot of companies realized they needed to get their employees liquidity, or they didn't want to further dilute ownership. So as new investors come in private markets, we are forced to do tender offers. So I predict that in 2023 we'll see a lot more tender offers as well.
I would wager, I have an analogy. A tender offer is to a valuation what a sale of a home is versus a stock trade. Because with a tender offer, you get one person decides to buy something and sets the price, right? Whereas trading on the open market, there are thousands, even millions of transactions on a daily basis that reset the price of a company daily. So just like your house, you only sell that once every few years. Tender offers only come around every once in a while. Your house, in actuality, is probably going up and down in value every single day, but you don't see it because people aren't actively trading the value of your house every single day, or shares of your house every single day.
Right.
So, no,
right. And Zillow in that analogy would be the market speculation and market commentators trying to back into a valuation based on external market forces and comparative companies, or in this case, comparative houses. Yeah, I'm with you on that analogy.
I don't know where that came from, but sure. Let's keep moving.
Speaking of, no, sorry, go ahead. I had a good segue, but I know you get pissed off when I skip articles, so.
Oh, no, you can segue wherever you want. We just have general ChatGPT and Microsoft stuff here, so there's a lot of it.
I was going to say, speaking of selling houses, if you're Larry Page or Sergey Brin, you won't have to sell your houses because you're rich AF and you founded Google, but you've had to come back into Google, even though you left the company years ago, to advise on its current leadership team how to get their hat back in the ring for this AI fight, right? ChatGPT comes along and releases this incredibly innovative product that we can't stop talking about it. People can't stop using it, and my take on this is that Google has been working on a very similar tool. They've just been testing it internally and weren't quite ready to release it. And now all of a sudden, ChatGPT has probably accelerated that investment, that moving that product launch up, potentially testing and making sure it's safe. But yeah, you've got a note here that when did they leave the company?
About 10 years ago.
Was it 2019? Oh, 10 years ago. Wow.
They named Eric Schmidt the CEO in 2001. So they're still on the board and they're still technically employees. But yeah, they haven't been around in depth for quite some time. Yeah, I did some research on the fellows. They're 50 years old now. This seems like they've been stepped away from the company for 10 years. I don't know how much AI knowledge they're going to be bringing to Google compared to the 28-year-olds to 35-year-olds that have master's degrees in AI. That's all they've been focusing on for 10 years. I mean, this seems like something that they just tell all their employees. Sundar Pichai's hey guys, this is really serious. it's going to eat our lunch. We didn't innovate for 20 years. And we own 91% of the search market, but suddenly there's something that could eat our lunch. So we're bringing in the big boys. We're bringing the guys off their yachts to come in and provide some commentary. I really doubt that this is actually going to provide a ton of insight from Larry and Sergey, but useful.
Yeah, I was thinking back, so Google has owned search for its entire existence, essentially. And Google was that innovator, right? Google comes along and eats everyone else's lunch. And people are going, you're using AOL.com to search the internet before? Are you kidding me? Google was such an innovative tool.
Well, Yahoo. Not forever. Yahoo was the Google for maybe 5 years.
Sure, but Google came along and Yahoo immediately crashed and burned, or slowly crashed and burned. But I was thinking, what are the major innovations in Google search over these 20 years?
There's more ads
reverse image search. Yeah, the innovations were that they found a way to make it really profitable. To me, that was the innovation, which is not for nothing. The predictive text. Now, when you Google what happens when, and you meant to say what happens when you burn your hand and you get something really creepy and gross, or something that you don't want in your Google search history. To me, that's been the biggest innovation of the past 20 years, which is not going to be enough for them to compete with ChatGPT. Speaking of which, so ChatGPT has received some previous investments from Microsoft and is in talks to get another large investment of, not confirmed yet, but almost $10 billion, people seem to think. And Microsoft's search engine is called what?
Well, it's called Bing. And just to be a little clear, just to be a little bit, to add some clarity, I think you're focusing on the segue. The OpenAI is the actual holding company for all these cool, all these cool AI tools such as ChatGPT and DALL-E and the video that they're working on, the video tool. So yeah, you're talking about Microsoft's deal and how they're going to get involved and how Bing might be.
Well, yeah, I mean, Bing is the butt. Bing is currently a joke search engine. It's the butt of jokes because it doesn't work half as well as Google. And if you use a Windows machine, you know that anytime you click on anything, you are forced to use Bing somehow until you change all of your settings. Mm-hmm. But what if Bing had ChatGPT? How does that change the game? I mean, Google should be scared, but I don't know. I think Microsoft has a long way to go. It's not going to be a silver bullet. Great, now we have better AI in a shitty search engine. I don't know if that's going to work.
Yeah. I mean, Microsoft made a smart move by putting $1 billion behind OpenAI a few years ago. It looks like they're in the works of providing another $10 billion, which means that, for one, we do know that all of OpenAI's processing is happening on the Azure cloud behind the scenes, so not on Amazon's cloud. Which is interesting. It means that they house all that data, but also what are the implications in terms of how Microsoft would potentially deploy this across their various products? Now, Microsoft doesn't have a phone. They tried to have a phone. So it would be really cool if ChatGPT did live as Siri. Sure, take my Siri and give me ChatGPT. I'd love to. I could just talk to my phone all day. But what kind of hardware products and what kind of other products?
That movie I have seen.
Is that her?
Yeah.
With Joaquin Phoenix, yeah.
Yeah. And ScarJo, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of AI movies coming out these days. That's up there. One of the best ones in terms of dramatic, will make you cry AI. But yeah, where else could we see ChatGPT deployed across the Microsoft ecosystem? This had me thinking about Excel, maybe. PowerPoint, I don't know. Outlook, probably Outlook. Yeah, that would be really good. It could write emails for you immediately in your Outlook. That would be a huge unlock.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Google's predictive text is fine, but ChatGPT, yeah, I would love that. Let's do it.
You could just say, write this email with these. Yeah, I mean, you could probably talk to it, not even have to type things in. But, also thinking about
write a warm apology that doesn't imply it's my fault to this person.
Sure. Apologize, but be firm about your stance. Yeah. And then thinking about the hardware that they have, what type of Microsoft hardware can you think of? All I can think of is Xbox, which is a place where you could deploy. I mean, I own one. Yeah.
Wait, did you see that sorry, this is related. The other tool that OpenAI is working on is a artificial intelligence that can beat humans at video games.
Oh, yeah.
So to me, that would be the worst thing they could possibly. Can you imagine pissing off Gen Z and being here's some artificial intelligence that can just roast you at every video game? I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, that's already existed for a while. Not in terms of a raw Yeah, I saw your note about this, and it made me think about. I mean, there's been computers involved in gaming since the year 2000. There's like hack bots that you can install ever since like Counter-Strike, where it'll just aim at someone's head and pull the trigger instantly and kill them. So like, it's not surprising that video games beat us at game. I mean, Deep Blue beat Kasparov and chess in like the early 80s, right? So I would be really surprised if ChatGPT couldn't pull off something. Yeah, there's notes here about it being good at Dota 2, which is a hyper complicated team game. And then I read a little bit about that since you have that note here. And apparently, not only can AI and machine learning play those games and like learn from their mistakes, but also it can play them at a hyper speed. So they gave
great for game testing.
Well, yeah, they gave ChatGPT, it played 45,000 years worth of games in like a few hours or something, because they could just accelerate the outcomes. And then they had to play against the top players in the world, and it like destroyed them. But of course, like, it learns a little bit from each game. And this is a really crazy thing about this. Like, if you also couple this machine learning and AI with quantum computing, like whatever country controls that, which I would argue that America is well ahead, like way in the lead with the quantum computing breakthroughs, and why we need to open up, I don't want to get into politics, but like immigration to allow the smartest minds from around the world come and contribute to the democratic peacekeeping country. Obviously we have our problems, and I'm not going to spiral into like Nicaragua and all that shit, but yeah. Like,
generally we have the infrastructure and the innovation, and we should have an open door for as many smart people to come and work on that as possible. Exactly.
And we have flirted with totalitarianism recently, but it's never quite been our MO.
Oh, just flirting?
Yeah, we want these innovations to exist in a multi-party democracy, not necessarily one of our competitors, such as China, for an example. Which is anyway, how do we spiral out of that? How do we pick back up? Yeah, so gaming wise, back to the Xbox. Yeah, let's keep. It makes me think
hardware. What Microsoft hardware could? I mean, they could replace us on this podcast. Like, you could have a microphone that just has the intelligence, and I could talk to it, which I'd prefer, I think.
Yeah, this makes me. Have you heard about I want to come back to the gaming thing. Have you heard about the Instagram robot influencer that's got like 25 million followers? She's not real.
No.
Yeah, there's an Instagram. There's probably a handful of them now, at least. There is an influencer on Instagram that is not real. She's a 3D generated image, and she posts frequently and has got like millions and millions of followers and has caption. Like, it's managed by a team. There's already like AI. There's already Instagram famous robots. You throw on a deep fake ability to have a personality and have a face. And ChatGPT, they're talking about their valuations. They were interviewed. Sam Altman, is that his name? Was interviewed about like what's coming next for the company after its $30 billion valuation. And he is alluding to the ability not to just generate 2D images and text, but also video. So it makes me think, if Microsoft is involved, they use their storytelling, their hardware of an Xbox, and then we have the AI story, like, ability to progressively change the world, and you've got video games potentially where everybody's experience is completely unique, and you can play it,
or you can write your own video game
over and over again, and you respond to each different situation it's like a multiverse of experiences. So I can see why they're putting $10 billion into this tool.
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, imagine being able to write your own video game by just uploading a picture of a person. Like, you could have real people in your life in your video game and allow them to like live in your house, and like a weird, crazy version of The Sims that you're just consistently interfacing with this thing that can run out a billion different scenarios that no human could ever conceive of.
Yeah, and you have this note here about how effective this will be in pornography.
Are we stoned?
And I agree with you that this is going to be a huge thing for porn. Like, do you want to expand on your note here about this is a huge deal for pornography?
I'm about to sue you for defamation.
I mean, it's your note here. I don't know if you wanted to expand on that at all.
Sometimes you just say things that make me question your judgment altogether, but that's okay. That's okay, dear listener. Shane Mason is a really good guy deep down, I think. I'm not sure some days.
No, that thought hadn't crossed my mind until now. But yeah, that, of course, pornography is always... Have you heard that quote that like porn is always the first industry to technological innovation? Like,
yeah, I mean... Well, I don't know. It's not porn, but in K-pop, there's been this idea of like virtual idols. So this has been going on for years. they have like these like avatars that are not real people. Obviously, there's like a producer behind them, but they've been using AI to generate music, and they like will do concerts. So one of them is called what's her name? Hatsune Miku, I think is her name, and she'll like literally sell out stadiums, and it's just a hologram of a bot, and she's as popular as a human K-pop singer.
I mean, everything we're talking about is taking jobs away from people, including the pornography thing. Everything. We're going to have to figure out some way to replace these jobs.
What do you think the new jobs are going to be in AI? Well, I mean, if AI takes away 20% of jobs, like what do those people do now?
Yeah, I mean, if you know how to manage AI and to deploy it, and just like any other technology, if you learn how to use it to your advantage, then there's going to be a job for you. But for I don't have an actual ratio here, but I'm sure for every 10 jobs erased, there may be 2 jobs for actually deploying or managing the new technology that's been deployed. I mean, we have a tweet here from Genevieve Roche-Dechter, CFA, that says ChatGPT has passed the United States medical license exam, has passed the bar exam, and the MBA operations exam. I don't think it's passed the CPA exam or the CFP exam, but it's coming for us, I'm sure.
Sounds like it'd be really annoying at a bar, but anyway.
I'm a lawyer and a doctor.
I'm a lawyer, a doctor, and a CFA. Or no, she's a CFA. The tweeter is a CFA.
Yeah. What were you saying? I cut you off.
I don't remember, man. I don't remember. Oh, I was saying it's snowing.
Oh, okay. Excellent segue into layoffs.
It's snowing in Brooklyn. Yeah. Yeah, and I apologize. I didn't mean to be glib at the beginning when I was doing my intro, folks. When I said thoughts and prayers, I truly meant thoughts and prayers. It's just it's really rough, and we're seeing it across the board.
We're recording a little bit earlier today, so we have a little bit different attitude this morning. Yeah.
Yes, 2 hours less of prep for this podcast is what we have today. We're seeing layoffs across the board. We've got 10,000 jobs at Microsoft. We've got 18,000 jobs at Amazon. We've got 6% of Spotify's workforce, which is about 700 jobs. It's not good, right? There's a lot of overhiring done in the pandemic. We have a lot of CEOs writing very solemn apologies. I forget, I think it was a Microsoft CEO who basically says this is on me. I overhired. I looked at the financial projections and thought the growth would continue forever. Arguably, they had to say that to their investors. But anyway, we have some numbers here about actual headcount from a year ago versus today. Shay, did you want to touch on any of these companies to talk about? Did we actually lose headcount, or are we back to where we started?
Yeah, I mean, I do want to remind people that while some companies have laid off 10% of their workforce, 6% of their workforce, 20%. I mean, Twitter is obviously an exception at about over 50% at this point, and it continues to work, apparently. So there's a lot of theories about was that company sincerely had too much fat on the bone. But if we're looking at Google, for example, they laid off 12,000 people at the end of 2022. They had 186,000 at the end of 2021. They had 156. So they hired 30,000 people over the course of 2022, and they've cut 12. Yeah. So how deep of a cut is that really? I mean, Netflix has fired 500 of its 11,300 people. They had hired 2,000 people from 2020 to 2021. So is that really that big of a cut? Microsoft has 220,000 employees. They cut 10,000. I mean, these aren't, while they're obviously layoffs and hiring freezes, we're still getting back to really where we were maybe a year or two ago, and which has still experienced incredible growth. And when we think about what's going on with tech companies, because they're the ones that are truly experiencing layoffs as opposed to more traditional companies, and they're all over the headlines because it sells newspapers, but venture-backed companies, they are required to grow. That is their whole MO. When Wall Street looks at them, they have to lay the tracks down for growth way ahead of time. And when that growth does not show up, then they have to do these layoffs. And because the pandemic spirited growth or pandemic fuel made us look like this might be going on for 5 years, there was a lot more tracks laid down than what actually ended up turning out. So I'm not surprised that this is happening. I've already said thank you to the vaccines. I have infamously said that the vaccines are causing all these layoffs. But in my opinion, that's still what is going on here. We're seeing a drawback from our pandemic-fueled expectations for growth.
Mm-hmm. A notable exception to these layoffs, though, is Apple, which has so far avoided headline-making layoffs, right? But we do have there is some prediction that next month they are going to report their first quarterly sales decline in more than 3 years. So I don't know if that fact will remain true through 2023. But is there anything notable about why we think Apple has been able to avoid these layoffs?
Well, Apple has about 165,000 employees, which is a bit less than Microsoft and Google. And one of the things that I noted here about the difference between Apple and these other companies is that of their 165,000 employees, 65,000 of them are retail employees that support the sale of the iPhone, which is arguably the best consumer product ever invented. And it is still generating mad profits, and everyone has to have it. I know the iPhone 14 hasn't been as successful as previous iPhone releases, but I mean, it's still printing money left and right. Tim Cook has still generated the most shareholder value of any CEO in the history of American corporations. So yeah, they didn't hire as fast. They didn't work on the metaverse like Google and Facebook did. They're still focusing on their hardware with big margins. I mean, the App Store is still just a river of cash that, is arguably a monopoly that is unregulated. So no. And I guess they've been a little bit more, they're a bit smaller in terms of corporate core teams. Go ahead. What do you have?
Well, they stuck to their core business, right? They didn't go invest in a completely new business line. They know that hardware works. They know what drives revenue. I haven't looked into their financials, but maybe there was an investment in Apple TV to try to get some, to get some market share away from Netflix or Amazon. But for the most part, like, not a ton of brand new shit coming from Apple. And maybe that was a really smart move during the pandemic, right? Knowing that, like, hey, we got to hunker down and make it through this. And we've got a lot of people to take care of. And we got a lot of, I don't know. What's something new that's come out of Apple in the past 3 years?
Well, the rumors are there's going to be an augmented, AirPods, their headphones. Again, an incredible
hardware. What they do best.
Yeah. And then the rumor is that augmented reality is coming in the near future, which if you think about how AirPods would be implemented in that, because they can pick up sensual. What's that? Are you laughing at augmented reality? Are you comparing it to virtual reality?
No, I just hate AirPods. They don't work for me.
Oh, okay. Why
I can't hear anyone in AirPods ever.
When you're on the phone?
Yeah, I can never hear you. It's so frustrating.
I must say that the worst phone calls we've ever had is when you're wearing AirPods. You're like,
yeah, they're horrible.
So mad at me. I'm like, bro, it's
not
my fault you're wearing AirPods.
No, I use I've gone back to dongles. I ordered a pack of 3 dongles recently, so I will always be with dongle in hand and my trusty $20 wired headphones.
You heard that, folks. AJ's always dongle in hand.
You caught me with my pants down and my dongle in hand. On that note, folks, I think we are out of time for today. You have been a wonderful audience. You can email us at liquidityevent@brooklynfi.com. You can leave us a voicemail at memo.fm/liquidityevent. Show notes can be found at brooklynfi.com/episode 78. And yeah, if you have been laid off or are looking down the barrel of layoffs, please join us next week for a webinar where we will walk you through what to do and answer any questions that you have. That'll be me, and hopefully one of our other CFPs will join me. Maybe Shane will join me, but probably not. Thanks, folks. Maybe my new AI business partner will join me. Named Sheen.
Sheen, yeah, exactly. Sheen. Sheena.
We'll see you next week, folks. Bye.
Bye.